So for this part of the question 1b, okay, 1b is on subject manipulation. So the first part is actually quite easy. So the first part got no trick. You just have to show me, you insert the value. So you put in the value. You just have to show me that you put in the value. So you got 7 squared plus 2 times 7. So there's already an equal sign in the middle, so you don't need to put another equal sign here. But there still should be a flow. From the first line, you flow to the second line, you flow by inserting the inserting the values. Then after that, from the second line, how do you flow? You simplify the values. So in this case, you simplify, you got a 81. And you simplify some more, that will be a 9. So from here, r is equal to 9 plus 2. So there should be a flow. From each line to another line, there's a flow. And as I'm flowing, I actually keep the equal sign intact. So some of you, your working is everywhere. So for those of you, if your working is everywhere, you got to guide yourself line by line. So there is a flow from line 1 to line 2. You got to keep your working vertical. If you find yourself always like stray away, that means your working is everywhere, then I suggest maybe you have a column. Okay, so a column will work. It will be neater as well. So for the second part, you are supposed to make subject. So you need to locate your subject first. So the subject is P. So my subject is P. That means I need to isolate P. I need to get P out of the big square roots. So one of the technique is to square both sides. So there is a square both side technique, which some of you are quite weak. Okay, mentally you are like, I don't know what to do. So you're going to square both sides. The squaring will remove the huge square roots. So if some of you are thinking, do I even need to expand this part? Okay, it's not a concern whether you're going to expand this part or not. If you want to expand, you expand. If you don't want, leave it. Because my aim is to isolate my subject. So at every line, you should focus, where is my subject? So my subject is still there. So I'm going to move more things. I'm going to move the 2Q over. Then I'm going to square root both sides. So the square root will come with plus minus. The square root will remove the square. So that's the answer. Okay, common mistake, some people will they will go and square root this part. They will tell me that, oh, I also square root the r minus 2. They will do something like this. So if you do something like this, it's totally wrong. We don't square root a plus or minus expression. So that's it. You make P the subject already. So P is being isolated. So P is equivalent to this whole thing. And you might want to check the whole thing contains Q and R. So that is the subject manipulation part. Okay, part C deal with the factorization part. So the factorization will be back to the 4 methods of factorization that we mentioned in the first question. Okay, so it's actually not a difficult question, but apparently a lot of people are affected by this question. So you just stay focused. The first part is called factorize completely. So factorize means you just need to apply your method. There is no solving. So if you look at this looks like your a square minus b square method. So for part one, you don't need to use this at all. For part one, you look, this is what they ask you to do. You focus on that part. No need to think so much. So you realize that it's just your a square minus b square method. So you should get this. So I'm applying the a square minus b square method. So that's it. That will be my answer. Stay focused. Every part, follow closely what they are telling you. Don't let your mind stray off. And then for the second part, there is a hence. Hence means I should be able to use my answer for the first bracket. The second bracket, take a look. The whole bracket is repeated twice. Those who don't read or you read wrongly, some of you might be even thinking that, oh, this one looks like this. So the whole bracket is repeated twice. Okay, so I'm going to write the question first. The first bracket is related to part one. The second bracket, so line one, I copy. Line two, I use part one. From line one to line two, I use part one. From line one to line two, I make the bracket appear twice. And my job is to factorize. So look at the keyword that what are they telling you to do? So factorize back to the four method. So if you go to the four methods, you realize that this is common factor. The bracket is a common factor. So from the second line to the third line, I take a common factor, after which I'm left with a bracket, and I'm left with another bracket. So which of the four methods I'm doing a take out common factor? So from line 2 to line 3, I take out the common factor. The next line, I should simplify. I simplify this part. X plus X, 13 minus 13. So do you realize 13 minus 13 is a 0? So my second bracket is just left with a 2x. Okay, so at the end of it, okay, let's check out. We need to explain why n is an even number. So what is n? N originally started off with this, which you have successfully factorized. So do you realize in part 2, you already factorize what you are factorizing? Do you realize that you are factorizing n? So that means it will become like this. And there is a multiple of 2. So since 2 is a factor, of n, then n is an even number. It's always an even number. So that's how you explain. Okay, so look at each part. Some of you, I think your brain stray off when the question gets too long. So you stay focused part by part. Look out for the keyword. So in this case, right, you are only factorizing. You don't need to do any solving. Okay, so factorize, that means you just have to apply your four methods and that's it. There shouldn't be finding values of x.